Cheryl Regier. We are the Regier family. I have 4 children. My daughter is going to be 26. She's married with 4 children and she vaccinates them. And these are my boys, Hunter, Colton, and Connor. They've all been vaccinated and they're all vaccine injured.
They're all vaccinated. Okay, so let's just find out from you. How old are you?
My name is Hunter Regier. I am 22 years old, almost 23. And, okay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to, let's just introduce.
Colton Regier and I'm 20.
I'm Connor and I'm Connor Regier and I'm 13.
13 years old. Okay, right. So does Mummy want to tell the stories?
I'll tell the stories and then they can say what they want. Okay, Hunter was born in September of '93. He was given the vitamin K shot and possibly hepatitis B. I don't know for sure because he was brought to me with 2 band-aids, 1 on each leg. I didn't see him for 2 hours after he was born because he had 104 fever. He started getting major vaccines when he was 2 months old, and we did the series because we did what we were supposed to do. We believed that the vaccines were going to protect our children. After his 2-month vaccine, I noticed that he wasn't tracking, and let me backtrack. He was severely jaundiced at birth. He was 19, I guess at 20, going to the lights. The doctor said there was really nothing wrong with him. So we proceeded, started his shots routine at 2 months, and every 2 months after that he was getting the hepatitis B shot. I noticed that there was something wrong with his vision, and the doctor said there was nothing wrong with him. He also got 102 fever after every vaccine and swollen sites. The injection sites were always swollen. We gave him Tylenol. I noticed until 6 years old that there was something wrong with him. He never crawled. He walked. When he was 15 months old, he crawled on his back. He pushed himself on his back, crawling around the house and used his arms as ballasts. He had flapping of the hands as an infant also, and so then I homeschooled, and at 6 years old he wasn't reading and he told me he couldn't see. We took him to an ophthalmologist who said he had kidney disease. We sent him to the nephrologist and they diagnosed him with a very rare kidney disease called renal coloboma syndrome. It's very rare. I forget the percentage.
10% of the nation's population has it.
Of adolescents.
And what did they say? What did they say caused it?
They said he was born that way. But I did a research. I researched renal coloboma syndrome, and children that present with that condition have siblings that present at the same time, and none of his siblings have it. My husband and I believe it was because of the hepatitis shots. We never questioned the doctors about whether or not it was a vaccine because we trusted them. And it was only recently that I'm realizing that my kids have all vaccine injuries. All of them have learning disabilities. Hunter is blind in the right eye. His kidneys didn't grow at all. So he had a life of going to nephrology about 6 times a year with lab work in between from age 6 until, well, he still does labs. When in 2008 his kidney function dropped down to 45% and continued to decrease until he was in end-stage renal disease, renal failure, 3 years ago? His kidneys finally stopped working. He ended up on dialysis in 2014 and he got a kidney transplant last September. And so that's where he's at now. And then there's Colton. He was born in January of '96. He got his hepatitis B at birth and his vitamin K at birth. And I remember them bringing him to me, and I was holding him and I said, wow, this baby's really quiet. He doesn't cry, he doesn't move, he's just really quiet. So we thought he was our quiet baby, but he never had any emotion. He was really quiet, and we thought, wow, we have this great baby. We gave him all his vaccines at about 18 months. It was after the MMR. There was no major change in his behavior because he was already really quiet. He was already non-functioning.
Being quiet is one thing, but did he develop as you would expect a child, or did you worry about him?
I didn't worry about him.
You thought he was okay?
I thought he was okay. we noticed that he had allergies to all the foods we gave him, and he had allergies to everything. I mean, his eyes were constantly watering, and he also had 104 fevers. He had the MMR shot one time. And that was when he was 18 months. He ended up with 104 fever, vomiting, and lethargy. His eyes were only back in his head, and I picked him up to take him to the emergency room, and he was limp. We took him to the emergency room, and I asked them, is this because of the vaccine? And they said, no, he's just sick. Well, my sister and I got home, and we looked it up and realized that he did have an injury. It lasted 2 weeks. We stopped doing vaccines at that point, and we had changed our diet already, just because we started out as vegetarians, and so we were eating pretty healthy. The only things we've noticed about Colton is that he didn't have eye contact with us for a very long time. Didn't talk very much like the other kids or other children. He still has limited eye contact. He doesn't really express himself. We've never had him officially diagnosed with autism because our doctors have told us for 26 years that there's nothing wrong with our children. He recently got tested for learning disabilities at college, and he does have quite a few learning disabilities. I know he has auditory processing disorder, sensory processing disorder, reading difficulties, comprehension disorder, and some writing disorders. And so it makes it very difficult for him to move forward, and he's slower than most of the kids his age. The same thing with Hunter. He has visual processing disorder and auditory processing disorder. So then we have Connor. Connor was born May 2003, and he has a very special story, and I told him it was up to him to tell you his birth story if he wanted to. Did you want to tell them your birth story? Did you want me to tell them? You want me to tell them?
Yeah, I'm going to be smiling the whole time.
That's okay, you can smile. Connor is our adopted child. He was born 10 weeks premature.
It's really strange. You all look really similar.
Everyone tells us that.
He was born 10 weeks premature. He did not get vaccines right away. He had lung issues, he had breathing issues because of lack of development with being 10 weeks premature.
And was he vaccinated?
He was not vaccinated in the hospital. And because we were adopting him through the state, we had to follow their vaccine regimen. He was born with apnea. He had to wear a monitor. When we took him to the pediatrician, I had asked, do we vaccinate him because of his lung issues? And they said, no, he'll be fine. So we proceeded with the vaccine schedule.
So did they take much time over wondering or in researching into his lung issues, or did they just say
No, they just said that because he's a premature baby and because he has lung issues that he should be vaccinated to protect him. So we followed the schedule. He also, all of these boys got 104 fevers after the MMRs. Colton and Connor got 104 fevers after almost every shot. Both Colton and Connor, after the MMRs, ended up in the hospital with 104 fevers, vomiting, lethargy, and eyes rolling back in their head. And the ER doctor said that that was normal. It's not normal. It's common now because this is what happens to our children when they're vaccine injured. It's not normal. So we took Connor home. We stopped doing vaccinations for him in 2005. He was 2 years old. Prior to that, after his DTaP, and I don't remember the date, but there were 2 instances where he ended up in respiratory distress at Children's Hospital because he couldn't breathe. When we stopped doing vaccinations in 2005 and we were eating a very healthy, organic diet, his issues started to clear up. All of their issues started to clear up. Connor has multiple learning disabilities. He has dysgraphia, he has auditory processing disorder, sensory disorder, and visual processing disorder. He's delayed, he had developmental delays. He didn't start talking until he was 3. He didn't start walking until he was 15 months old. And to this day, he still has problems with school. He is not vaccinated, and because of SB 277, he cannot continue in the charter homeschool that we've been participating in for 20 years. So now because of SB 277, he's not in school right now. and we're probably going to end up homeschooling him privately unless Dr. Pan goes after our homeschoolers, and then we're moving to Texas.
Come on down. Wow.
So that's our story.
This is big. This is exactly what we were talking about just now on the bus. These whole different levels of vaccine injury. Some kids crash and we can never get them anywhere near what they used to before.
Yeah.
And then there's you guys you've all got individual different issues, but you're sitting here and I'm about to have a conversation with all of you. So that in itself is a blessing, I feel.
Yes,
because
definitely.
there's so much terrible vaccine injury to the point, where the child never can really talk but so you really had a hard time.
Yeah.
Do you know how far back you can remember these things that happened to
All
you?
the way from the beginning. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. I remember the day I was diagnosed. I remember when I was at the eye doctor and she said we need to get him to a nephrologist. Yeah, I remember everything.
And how do you feel about the fact that all of this could have been prevented?
I don't know how I feel about it yet. All of this vaccine stuff only recently came to my attention thanks to my mom and you guys, obviously. And so just the thought of that it could have been prevented, it's kind of frustrating.
And so what are the issues that are the most difficult for you as you live now?
Well, the fact that I'll always still have problems because of my disease, and so it's been kind of hard to find work, and it's been kind of hard to find things to do because I can't really do anything just because of the transplant alone. I have on so much immunosuppressants that I can't really go out in public for us getting it sick really easily.
And your vision,
the vision.
Can you literally not see at all?
I could never explain it because it's hard to explain, but I can kind of see, like if I close my left eye, which is the one I am able to see out of, I can still see everything. Like I can see the colors perfectly, but it's like a shadow. It's the way I've always explained it is the way you can see in a dream. Like you can see everything, but you can't really pick out all the details. It's kind of like that. But
so if the world was your oyster and you could do anything you wanted, what makes you happy? What job would you love to do more than anything else? You like doing camera work?
I've always been into film ever since I could watch movies. It's always been my dream to pursue filmmaking.
Wow. Well, we're building a big media center for exactly to people like you who can't get to their dream.
Yeah.
Because we meet so many people that are so talented.
Yeah.
Normally guys, to be honest, that want to do film, animation or editing. And yeah, guys, I think you're going to have to come to Texas.
I think so too. I'm all for it.
Seriously, we do need to build these billboard studios and places everywhere. And it's so frustrating that, for me, one of the deeply saddest things of all of this is that we're not looking after the people that are damaged.
Right.
Yeah.
So we damage them, and they're on their own. You are a capable, wonderful young man who clearly has a talent.
Yeah.
But can't use the talent for a number of reasons because of vaccine injury.
Right.
Yeah.
That is not acceptable.
Right.
Yeah.
So
It's not acceptable.
we're on it. I tell you guys, we're on it. We just got to do this Vax thing, and then and then we've got the land, and we've got to get land here, and we've got to get it everywhere, and there's so many of it. But you know what?
If you need people, I'll be there.
We're really sorry that you've been through all this.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's not your fault.
Well, it's
I'm really sorry too. It
collectively,
breaks my heart.
Yeah.
It's just really sad. It's just really sad, and I'm sorry you have to live like this. But
Just a little bit quick tidbit, but towards the end of before I started dialysis, about a year before my kidneys really went into decline, the doctors really pushed the HPV vaccine. And I always was told that isn't that for girls, but I never understood. Luckily, I refused them long enough.
so they try to push it on you.
Yeah.
What did they say to you?
They would every visit. It's like, hey, did you ever think about doing the vaccine? It's really going to help you. And I was like, nah, I don't feel like I need it. And they always have this really confused look that they do not understand what I'm saying. Like I'm speaking a different language when I say something.
How do they think it's going to help you? Did they say?
Just in case I was sexually active, and I said, no, I'm not even near it right now. It's just
Well, and the
Yeah,
other
this is
thing,
really strange how they would
Hey,
force
do
it.
me a favour, the next time you have to go to one of those appointments, please just record it. I want to hear. I want to hear
Luckily-
them
luckily
pushing
they
that
haven't-
stuff on you. I mean, that is sick, isn't
it
it?
is,
He's
it's
this
horrible.
guy-
Well, he got the pneumococcal shot during dialysis treatment. And as soon as he got the shot, okay, he had a blood draw that day, but he's had that before and it really never affected him that much. The minute they gave him the pneumococcal, he passed out.
Yep.
And they said, it's normal, it's okay.
They said, oh,
It does,
well,
it,
yeah.
it does happen, but it's okay. We're here, we'll take care of him.
Oh, it's just shock.
It's shock
That's never
from the
happened to me
pneumococcal
before.
vaccine. Doesn't make
Never.
any sense.
So it clearly is becoming normal, but that doesn't mean to say it's okay.
Right.
Right, so you must never have another vaccine again, you know that,
No,
don't you?
No.
I don't even get the flu shot.
Okay, good job. And yeah, we're really sorry.
Yeah.
You're a great guy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're a lot of hearts here, people
Yeah.
love you. All right, let's have a chat with you.
Okay.
So how far back can you remember what's happened to you?
You dropped
I don't know. My mom started noticing it before I did during school. Didn't start actually fully realizing it until 3 years ago when I started college.
Is that 3 years?
It was mostly during
Yeah.
lecture when they were talking. Obviously, I started dozing off into nowhere, and that's when I started noticing it. And I have a really hard time reading books because I just get stuck on the same page for like 15 minutes. It's really hard for me to progress. To understand that one line, it's really hard for me, and that's when I really started noticing it, and that's when I asked to get tested. And they told me I have a bunch of them, the learning disabilities, and that's pretty much it.
And so what did they help you? Are they trying to give you drugs? What was the deal there?
No, they just said just get the
From what I've noticed, they don't even try to help him. They just say, oh yeah, they acknowledge that he has the problem, but they don't really
they give you this,
try to help you. They just give you this
when
slip.
you get tested
Yeah.
in college, they give you this pink paper. You just give it to your teacher so that you can get help from DSPS, which is
disabled students.
Yeah, disabled students.
And with Colton, I had requested him to be tested several times through the doctor, and she said there was nothing wrong with him,
Yeah.
that he's fine.
Yeah.
Tell him about your scratch tests.
Oh, yeah, he's...
No,
he'll-
let him talk. Let him talk.
Okay.
Tell him,
Go
tell him
ahead.
about your scratch tests.
Your allergy test. Do you remember that? You were 6th grade.
Yeah. Oh, you mean when the doctor was fighting?
No, just tell him what happened when
What
you got the
happened
scratch
to
tests.
you? What did you do?
I don't remember.
Okay, he had allergy testing done when he was 6th grade, so that was a few years ago. So they do the scratch test on your back. And he ended up being allergic to every plant and every
Pollen.
tree, all
Oh.
pollens,
And
except for cats and dogs.
and
Yeah.
dust. It was like every
And dust.
all the
And
dust
so-
mites
He's
and
allergic
all
to
that.
everything
Yeah.
except
Yeah.
cats and dogs.
When we went back after, so I researched how do you treat somebody who's that allergic to everything. And the research I found was that if he got the shots, I don't know what it's called, for the allergy, it's some kind of, I want to say immunoglobulin, but I don't know, that it destroys the adrenal glands. And so
Oh,
when
yeah.
we went back to the allergist and I asked him, I said, tell me about the adrenal glands being destroyed if he does this allergy routine of vaccinations. And he yelled at me and said, who do you think you are? I'm the doctor. I'm the one who has a degree. You don't tell me what to do. And I burst into tears and I said, you know what, this is my child. You don't tell me what to do with my child. I have a son with kidney disease and I know what's going on. You don't tell me what to do with my child. And we left and never went back.
I remember.
God,
I was really mad.
it was really bad.
Yeah.
Why was it bad? Because your mummy being upset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made me real mad.
Have you all seen the film Vaxxed, this film? Have you seen it?
No.
And why is that?
Can't afford it.
You can't afford it.
Yeah.
Do we have a DVD on?
We do.
Well, we're going to give you your own special DVD, and we're going to give you all a
I want to share
T-shirt.
with my daughter because
Each.
she has 4 of my grandchildren that she's vaccinating. We've had the conversation many times. In fact, I just had the conversation with her
Last week,
Mm-hmm.
Friday.
Friday, and I told her, everything I know, and I said, you have to watch the Vaxxed movie, and you can't vaccinate my grandchildren. And she said she believed it was God's intent for her to vaccinate her kids so she could put them in school. And I said, I don't think God wants your children to be inflicted with toxins and poison, because God created our immune systems perfectly to combat anything that comes across our barriers so that we can heal ourselves. So I want her to see the movie so much, because I want her to understand that it's just not mom talking. It's all of us moms, all of us parents with our children. And she's a sibling to these kids, and she knows they're vaccine injured, but she still is vaccinating my grandkids, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, she should at least educate herself before she makes a decision like that.